nerve-wracking, but I think for the audience here and watching live or later, let's go through a little bit of the introduction of yourself and the moonshot you're working on. So why don't we start with you, Joe?
Absolutely. Morning, everybody. So I'm with Inbox Health, Joe Bhaimia. We are focused around, number one, VP of Enterprise Sales and our partner growth strategy. Joined just a little while back, focused around taking the organization through a high growth focus. What we do and what we're focused on is the patient experience, right? And the most challenging part of that patient experience typically being the billing experience, that financial aspect of it. And what we're aiming to do is, make that more seamless, easy, and clear to improve the patient experience and overall enable healthcare in a different way than we've been able to in the current environment.
Awesome, thank you. Let's move on to Pinaki.
Good morning. Great to be here. First and foremost, great to be out in the sun after 2 years and seeing so many unmasked people. So my name is Pinaki Dasgupta, founder and CEO of Hindsait. When we were thinking about healthcare, one of the pieces that came up, and we started way back in 2013, that 25% of healthcare spend, and today is $4 trillion, which makes it $1 trillion spend, could actually be avoidable. And when you actually try to address the issue, one of the key pieces is 80% of the data is trapped in medical record, and those are unstructured free text. You have a bunch of facts going around, and then PDF, FIRE, but those are unstructured data. You cannot pull the relevant information to analyze, to see what's going on. And the way it gets addressed today is, the nurse, docs are actually flipping through hundreds of thousands of pages to make determinations, to make decisions. So that's where we came up with our own natural language processing engine. We don't call it just NLP, it's a clinical natural language processor to unlock that data trapped in medical record. And then, of course, we are helping today payers to make all kinds of reviews and audit. Could be prior authorizations, could be risk adjustment audit, could be DRG, CPT, you name it. And that's kind of just, we are beginning. And this now, that entire CNLP is available as an API. Anybody from around the world could come into our site and can upload their data and securely get a structured feed, all for free.
Can my grandma do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And anybody can do it.
And you could see it yourself. And once you have that structured data, you could apply it for real-world evidence, population health, quality.
So we'll go from kind of data processing and natural language processing towards the front end and the consumer and the patient. So Richard, please, a little intro and the moonshot you're working on.
Perfect, thanks Eugene. Good morning everybody. My name is Richard Bennett. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Epicured. At Epicured, we're working on the nutrition moonshot, which we see as critical to the future of value-based care in America and around the globe. Our job is to design and develop what we like to call Michelin-starred medicine. So we bring the best of the clinical world together with the best of the culinary world to translate scientific research into consumer food products that have the power to be prescribed and to heal patients on their care pathways.
And we just found out earlier that you're a chef. You actually have a chef, which is amazing.
I do, a chief culinary officer. How many people?
Culinary
That's
officer.
A pretty cool,
yeah,
right?
not many have that, but also from Spain, where Marina and I live.
We're so proud of Danny, right?
Awesome.
So Chef Danny Chavez Bello used to be the R&D chef for Boulet's restaurant empire. Before that, he was the R&D chef at El Bulli in Spain.
Yep.
He is of Spanish background, and at Mugaritz working with Wegmans. And so he works with our registered dietitians, our clinical researchers, to really bring the product to life. Because you can't have compliance if the food tastes like hospital food, right? We got to get beyond that.
Absolutely. Let's stick with you, right? Because I think when we talk about health and care, people, yes, it's much more on top of our tongues around kind of food as medicine, right? Yes. But as you think about your potential partners, investors, and maybe pick one or touch on both, on what are the things that there might be not where you need to clarify things, or what's kind of the key message that you would want your partners and or investors to know about your business as it comes to what you do on an every day?
Yeah, absolutely. We are a healthcare company. I won't bore you with all my background, but I've been in healthcare a very long time. And we are identified this huge gap of where healthcare seems to be petrified of food, right? We manage operating rooms 365 days a year, but if you say romaine lettuce, you're dead to me, right? Kind of idea. We have au bon pans and McDonald's and other things in our hospital lobbies. We're trying to manage chronic disease. And it's incredible between the pharma companies, the technology companies, and everything else, the progress we've made. We should give ourselves credit there. But we're proud at Epicured to actually manufacture a product in a translational way. There's all this research sitting on the shelf that is going to waste in food as medicine, where you can do a direct medical intervention using nutrition, either as a diagnostic, as a therapeutic, or as a wraparound, a pill to make drugs work better. So as we go out to market for investors and enterprise partners, we're looking to make sure people understand we're not a meal delivery company, right? We manufacture and deliver food as a means to deliver the medicine that our patients need and to improve health outcomes and bend the cost curve.
And thank you. Pinaki, I mean, you started talking about data, natural language processing. I'm sure when you talk to customers, and again, also investors, there's people that get it right away, but there's people that don't, right? And so what is your approach, and what is the message that you want your customers or investors to hear?
Absolutely. I think the payers get it. And if you really look at health insurance companies today, they have an army of clinical staff, whether it's PBM, pharmacy benefit management, prior authorizations for specialty drugs, or if you're looking at any kind of imaging studies, that would undergo a prior authorization review by those clinical staff. And they got to flip through hundreds of thousand pages. If you look at some of the prepay audit or post-pay audits and reviews, again, the staff in those health insurance companies, they spend zillions of hours to flip through to get to the right information. And what we do is by NLP, we are bringing the users to that specific information, which could be buried in page 722 of a 1,500-page document, and that's all they need to know. And we make that process seamless, make it efficient, and also wherever possible, we can automate that entire process so that our reviewers don't need to go through those unnecessary review where you have a slam dunk evidence buried in that document which says, yes, this particular test should be approved because there are enough evidence. So that's what we do, and that's the significance. And we see just by doing this, we can save plans as well as providers, because the patient and provider, if they get those prior authorizations requests faster, quicker, the provider satisfaction goes up, providers are happy, patients are happy, and then if you root out those cases which should not have been approved, and you bring down the utilizations, and everybody is happy.
Good, that's what we want, right? Joe, you've been, you mentioned earlier you just kind of recently started, right? And I think has been in the front lines in the business development and growth area. Same thing, right? You get asked questions. What's kind of the key message that you are sending out there, and maybe reiterate to the audience here?
Absolutely. And time flies when you're having fun. It's been almost a year now, but so I say new. I think investors and partners alike, educating them around just how challenging interoperability is, right? We heard Particle Health in the previous session talk about really unlocking some of the potential in healthcare, and that's where it starts. And I think for many of the investors out there in our community, as well as partners, they're still getting up to speed on just how challenging it is to unlock that and what it would cost them to do that internally. So we've invested the time, the resources, the talent to really unlock the financial transactions and that side of the patient experience to enable at enterprise scale, even if it is in the ambulatory space, a true unified system that can be deployed against entire patient populations, but ultimately make patients feel like they're supported. They've got the structure and the communication mechanisms available to them that they can expect out of apps that they might use in their personal lives, consumer-facing apps. So unlocking that data is really what we have to educate them around. and highlighting that as much of that progress we've made on the clinical side, we've made very little progress on the financial side and are not typically thinking about the patient experience as a priority.
So let's stick with you. What's the number one ask to your partners?
Number one ask to partners, it's a tricky one. I think it's twofold, but really grappling around just how difficult it is to develop out some of the patient interoperability and the support suite that might be required there. It's very easy to find a Stripe integration and be able to enable credit card processing or patient payments, payment plans, and some of the logic built out there. But it's hard working with a lot of these ambulatory systems that still keep that data locked in and don't allow other third parties to come in and be able to have access to that data on behalf of their providers and the billing companies and the revenue cycle organizations that they support. So really educating them around that process, what we can do to speed up their go-to-market by saying, let's partner, we'll be better together and enable your moonshot goal as well as ours.
Mm-hmm. You thought I'm going to go to you, but I'm going to completely throw everybody off. So let's go, Richard. Number one ask.
Number one ask. I think for us, we're currently a direct-to-consumer play, meaning we're entirely self-pay, to use healthcare jargon, focused on digestive diseases. So people pay on average around $11 a meal using Stripe, Amex, MasterCard, Visa. And what we're working on now with partners is trying to find cohorts of patients we can work on in a value-based or an at-risk model to increase the accessibility of our product, right? $11 per meal, we're very proud of that particular price point, but it's not accessible to everybody, and we can't fulfill our moonshot and our mission. And so our ability to really integrate with payers or self-insured employers or others to bend those curves and improve outcomes, that's what we're looking for next.
Thank you. Number one ask from you.
Number one ask. So the way I think about it, our evolution started with helping payers to manage their decisions faster, quicker, better, or more consistently. But with the technology underneath, which is the CNLP, clinical natural language processor, I believe now we could open it up, and we did actually. It's now available on demand via an API, available on our website. Anyone can come in. And I think a lot of the tech companies, fellow entrepreneurs, could actually make use of that API, can unlock that data and can build multiple use cases and applications. And same way, the accountable care organizations, their reimbursement, risk adjustment reimbursement, they are missing out. They will now have the ability to use our platform and see some of those missed opportunities to code certain risk and get the right level of reimbursement. And it's again open to all kinds of interpretation and how you want to use that. I believe that you could apply that for real world evidence. For instance, if you want to know in your population of diabetic patients how a particular intervention is working, now that you have the structured data sets for your entire cohort of diabetic patients, you can see what intervention worked, what intervention didn't work, what's the outcome, all kinds of opportunities available by utilizing our platform.
Excellent. Let's stick with you, and let's make these very, very brief, because I want to spend a little more time. We only got a couple of minutes left on the next question. If you had the magic wand, which I don't have, yesterday some of the moderators actually had a magic wand.
Nice.
What would it be in 20 years if you can wave? Let's stick with you, please.
What's the magic? I just want to make this available to the entire world and then say, hey, my fellow tech entrepreneur, use the platform, build your own use case, and let's solve this $1 trillion problem. We can take that cost out. It goes back to GDP, and many good things can happen.
Excellent. Richard, magic wand, quick.
20 years from now, the ability to understand and chronic disease being managed through nutrition, so that we can also begin to focus more and more on prevention using food, and understanding that this is all interconnected. It's not just human health, but it's planet and animal health, and all of that coming together to prevent the continued growth of chronic disease.
Excellent. Joe?
20 years from now, focused around, the moonshot is 20 years from now, unlocking all of the financial data in both ambulatory EHR and PM systems, lab systems, all the financial data that's in healthcare that's patient focused, unlocking that, making it truly interoperable, and driving that to improve the right experience and deliver the right experience on the patient side, so that the great healthcare that we have matches the great patient experience that we're providing, especially on the global scale.
This is amazing. We got exactly 3 minutes left, so for each of you, about a minute, because we talk about all the great stuff that's happening, but last 2 years plus have been a challenge, right? So can each one of you guys talk about the biggest lesson you took out, through the pandemic? And I know I'm kind of hearing it's post-COVID. I think we're still there. So let's start with you, please, Richard.
It's a tough one. I think where I wanted to start with is, we run a healing foods facility that ran throughout the pandemic, right? And we kind of declared ourselves essential because there's plenty of ambiguity there. And our team behaved and acted like healthcare workers and reported to work every single day so we could serve our patients and make sure that they got access to the meals they needed to continue their care. So I was proud of that. We want to continue to reinvest in our employee base at Epicured as we look to site other healing foods facilities around the country. So we knew we were essential to our patients. We knew that before the pandemic. For me as a CEO, I was so proud to see how our employees buckled down, leaned in, and understood the mission. And I need to do a better job to continue to propagate that as we scale. And that's what I'm working on.
Thank you. Pinaki?
So COVID, I'm not going to focus on the negatives. We all know the negatives. We all got stuck in our own little place, and everything around. And particularly, I'm from Jersey, in New York City. We have been slammed hard early on. So let's not focus on that, but let's focus on what COVID had taught us. And we have been working even before COVID remotely. All our workers are remote. And now I think it has been proven that model is successful. Number two, I think when we kind of stated hindsight, artificial intelligence for better healthcare in 2013, people was to ask, what is AI? And those are fancy terms that should not have been used. But I think now it's an accepted fact that evidence comes from data, and AI, NLP, these techniques are in essence to extract that data, and digitization pathway is now an accepted and sought after technology that I think the peers, providers, pharmaceutical companies, life science, they're all chasing. And COVID had shown that you need to focus on data, what evidence is telling you to make better decision. And I think that's really the positive side of COVID.
Thank you. Joe?
Healthcare, we're resistant to change. COVID helped facilitate, accelerate some of the digitization that we expected and needed and probably should have had 10 years ago. So continuing down that path, being able to still have that prioritization around the patient experience and engaging digitally. I hope that we benefited from it over COVID. We continue that path in the next 24 months.
Wow, look at that. Perfect timing.
Well done.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Well done with you guys, and good luck. And we'll see you guys at the next StartUpHealth or Zoom or whatever. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, everyone.